Quick apology and correction for a quite big mistake I made couple times in a previous video, my mother's 1970 Flo and Eddie tour #1 video in reviewing the tours. I kept referring to the bootleg Piquantique, P-I-Q, Pecan, Piquantique, that. I kept referring to that album as a good place to hear the December 15th Paris show that Jean-Luc Ponty sat in on. I was actually thinking of Disconnected Synapses is the name of the bootleg that Jean-Luc Ponty is on from the December 15th, 1970 Paris show. Piquantique is the show that has the Jean-Luc Ponty band from 73 doing a really, really good Farther Oblivion, among other things on there. So sorry for that mistake. Both great boots, but Disconnected Synapses is the one that has the 12-15-70 show. My bad. Hi, my name is Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie. Elsewhere on this channel, I am ranking and reviewing all the Frank Zappa tours. I've already done all the albums released. The tours, 26, I've deemed to be full tours worthy of ranking and reviewing. About to post number 22 in a couple days, but I'm going to take a little break and talk about another album that fits very, very nicely in the Zappa musical universe, and that is Jean-Luc Ponty's album titled King Kong. Jean-Luc Ponty plays the music of Frank Zappa. Came out, recorded in 69, came out in 70, and Jean-Luc Ponty, if you're not familiar, he plays on Hot Rats. He does overdubs for It Must Be a Camel. Then he played with Frank a couple times in 1970. He did a one-off show, or maybe a couple shows in July and August that had Ponty, Frank, and two members that were just nowhere otherwise related to the Mothers in any way. He played on their December 15th, 1970 show on the Disconnected Synapses boot. See the prologue for this. Disconnected Synapses, he's on that. He sat in for that show. And then he also was a full-time member of the Zappa band in 73. He was on the spring-summer tour. He was on the late summer tour, which you can hear on Road Tapes Venue 2, one of the best releases Frank has ever released. Jean-Luc Ponty's contributions to that show are phenomenal. And then he also appears on Apostrophe, Overnight Sensation. He's on various tracks throughout the canon. He's on one track on Return of Shut Up and Play Your Guitar. I think it's on Return. I think it's the second one. Yes, Return of the third one. Return of the Son of the Shut Up and Play Your Guitar. And then he's on a track on Lost Episodes, One Shot Deal, Understanding America, Crux of the Biscuit, because those were the Apostrophe sessions. And so he appears throughout the canon. But really, touring live stuff in 73, the two sort of 73, the fruit that 73 bore, Apostrophe and Overnight Sensation, he's on those. And then this album is really almost like the best of his Zappa contributions because it is 5 Zappa compositions on here on this album, 6 songs total. The 6th song was written by Ponty and is not the worst track on the album. 4 of the Zappa compositions on this King Kong album were previously released Zappa songs, all now done instrumentally. The 5th song Zappa specifically wrote for these sessions. Ian Underwood apparently conducted this song. It's a 19-minute and 20-second song, which I'll talk about in a while. Conducted the song. And so you have 4 released songs, 1 specifically released, written for this, which Frank would then later revise and release himself later on down the line. And it's pretty much just kind of a Hot Rats meets maybe a little Weasels Rip My Flesh in that long 19-minute number meets Grand Wazoo Waka Jawaka. It's very much a jazz instrumental soloist. We're just kind of like using these songs as like jumping off places for solos, all of which, or at least most of them, are Jean-Luc Ponty violin solos because this is a Jean-Luc Ponty album. There are some other Mothers connections. George Duke is the keyboardist on this. This is his first sort of foray into the Zappa realm. Ian Underwood plays on this. Arthur Dyer Tripp, the percussionist drummer from the Mothers, plays on a couple tracks. And Frank plays guitar on one track. And that track, the one track he plays guitar on, is the Jean-Luc Ponty written piece. So good on you, Frank, for not, for helping Jean-Luc as much as possible. 6 songs, single album. The first side opens up with King Kong. You just immediately jump into the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, right? You get the main theme. George Duke has a pretty decent solo. Jean-Luc Ponty plays a very good solo. Then you get the closing theme. Almost 5 near minutes of just great jazz instrumental King Kong awesomeness. The only song I don't think works, the one that kind of just doesn't quite gel for me, is the second track, Idiot Bastard Son. Great song, I love it, but the pitch that is chosen for the instruments that are playing the melody, the violin is it's a little too high for me. It's a little too, it is such a strong melody, and I know what the lyrics are, that it really just kind of sounds like a bad cover tune. And yeah, we eventually get through the melody, and there's a really nice solo section featuring Ponty, and then we get the melody at the end. But every time we're actually in the Idiot Bastard Son song, it just doesn't work for me. It just, where the other songs feel like jazz standards that Ponty is covering, which is normal in jazz and works. It's like Coltrane taking my favorite things and making it his own. I'm not going to elevate this to a Coltrane level, but Ponty is taking these standards and making them his own and, soloing them, and it works. It's jazz. It's wonderful. Idiot Bastard Son kind of doesn't work for me. The solo section is good, and once we get through the melody, I enjoy it, but it's the one song that I just don't like, but it's not bad. I mean, it feels like the rest of the song, so maybe it won't bother you as much as it does me. But it's the one thing I think kind of fails. The highlight, apart from the 19 and 20 minute song written for this, I think is 20 Small Cigars. That is just different instrumentation. This is the Chungus Revenge song, 20 Small Cigars, different instrumentation. Ponty's solo is graceful and understated and poignant and just perfect. Like, I think the 20 Small Cigars on here is just fantastic. Absolutely love it. And then the side A closes with How Would You Like to Have a Head Like That? The Jean-Luc Ponty, which has a main theme which kind of sounds like Down and to Do from Leather. Interesting that maybe Frank borrowed from Jean-Luc, or Jean-Luc heard that somewhere and then took it. I don't know. There's a lot of similarities to a Frank song on here, so that's kind of interesting. But anyways, that's pretty much just a jazz song. You get this kind of forgettable main theme, and then some soloing, and then a closing theme. Side 2, and kind of the real reason I think all hardcore Zappa fans should probably check this album out, is the first song, 19 minutes and 20 seconds, is Music for Electric Violin and Low Budget Orchestra. From this 19-minute song, Frank would revise it and eventually release something called Revised Music for Guitar and Low Budget Orchestra. But pretty much all of that revised music you can hear at some point in this song, surrounded by a lot of other things. You get some Duke of Prunes action, that was taken out. You get some Pound for a Brown action, of course, that was taken out. You get some very sort of Mother-esque, very rhythmic interludes, a la Did You Get Any On Ya, Charles Ives, that sort of Mother, like that really like frantic, frenetic pacing. You get little bursts of that in that. And all of these ideas, as they go, are sort of tied together by Jean-Luc Ponty's violin. And it works. Like it works completely. It doesn't really feel like one continuous piece as much as it does feel like, I think I read somewhere that Frank wanted to attempt to do a single long form sort of pseudo classical jazz rock piece, and this was his first attempt at doing a really long form pseudo classical, whatever. And so it doesn't quite have the flow of Gregory Peccary or even say Billy the Mountain, being this lengthy 19-minute piece. And it almost seems like a lumpy gravy thing where he wrote this and then he wrote this and then he wrote this and he just kind of stitched them together. Obviously that's the case because you got the Duke of Prunes in there and the Pound for a Brown, but it works. It's a fun listen. There are some new Zappa ideas that aren't out there elsewhere in his musical au revoir, and it's a fun listen, and it's a great listen. The fact that I think he and Ponty and Underwood and these musicians work together to put out this incredibly ambitious piece of work on a Jean-Luc Ponty album, fantastic. And then it closes with America Drinks and Goes Home, which is a fun song always. Excellent choice, whoever decided to put that on there. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to do. Is I just want to recommend this album. Like Jeff Simmons' his solo album, Lucille Has Messed My Mind Up. This is worth checking out unless you absolutely hate instrumental jazz and that kind of stuff bores you to death, or you think the violin is a painful to listen to instrument, which on The Idiot Bastard Son it almost is. But this is a good album, and I think I think Ponty's arrangements serve the music well. Frank's contribution on that one song, obviously very, very interesting listen. Yeah, so that's all. I just want to take the time to encourage everybody to go check out this album. Jean-Luc Ponty, King Kong, Jean-Luc Ponty plays the music of Frank Zappa. I found it pretty cheap at a used record store, but I'm pretty sure it's also streaming on Spotify. So you might want to check that out if you have Spotify or some other streaming service. But that's it. That's all I got to say. Thank you for watching. Check it out. Let me know if you do and what you think of it and if I'm wrong or right. And if you do check it out, thoughts on Idiot Bastard Son. Am I just missing this? Am I just off? Or does it really it's too a little high-pitched. I don't know how else to say it. But anyways, that's it. Peace. Thanks. All right, subscribe, all that stuff. Bye.